Hello my friends, welcome, it's episode 41. I fixed the camera so we can see prestige and all that again. We are now finally past the bit where the hard disk corruption caused me to drop some content, and now we are back to playing blind. We also have a huge amount of prestige to spend for once. I've actually been giving all of this a lot of thought as well, so first things first, I'm just going to overstrength everything that can be overstrengthed, so we can see how much money we actually have. And then we're going to talk about how this game's stat system works. Wow, that's nearly level 5. Because I have a lot to say. Okay, so I was thinking about how to spend my money. Just noting here that equipment-wise, we're pretty much good to go. I don't see any reason to change the standard setup. Except to get rid of this subcaliber shell, because even though it's free, it's just not a very useful item. So, yeah, it was time for it to go. And we also need to change, because this is apparently going to be an amphibious landing. So we need to change all of our transports to amphibious transport, which actually won't cost anything for all my stuff, because they're the same price. The half track is the same price as the Duck W. It's just one of them has better soft stats, and the other is amphibious. And of course, infantry do not have transport because they fly, with the exception of this infantry, which on this occasion I'm probably better off just getting rid of the transports. Which will return 120 to me. If I discard this, I will get my 120. Yep. Same with this. Yep. Oh, speaking of which, I quickly switched in flamethrowers to get rid of a bunker. That's obviously not necessary. Let's side in the Sapper squad. It's too soft defense. These are limited equipments. I could probably actually do with switching this out. I had it set up cheaply. Okay, alright. So, equipment-wise, we're done. Now, what I wanted to talk about was, there are a couple of things. If you upgrade a unit, so you see that this fighter is worth 884 in its current state. So if you upgrade it to something where you're going to get half price for it or whatever, you can see here that so Spitfire Mark 9, you're only going to get a minus 174 discount for the Spitfire Mark 9. Which is really weird to me. Now, well, it's not really weird, but it's going to get weird. So this is going to cost me 481. Buying the Spitfire outright is going to cost me, just to show you, it is 190. Then I've got a small discount, so it comes to 655 if I purchased it outright. So you can see here, I'm only going to get a small discount for this. Now, I think this is partially to do with overstrength level. So, if you understrength this back down to 10. So you can see there, that's nearly 200 prestige restored. And then you upgrade. You'll see here that it's minus 242. So it's only going to cost me 413, and I got the money back from overstrengthening. But the question is, does overstrength carry on through upgrading? So I'm going to have to save here and then reload to show you guys this, because it's very odd to me. So let's make a test save game. So upgrade 1. So upgrade 1, we take the Hurricane, and I have more to talk about than just this, but we'll do this first. So we just take the Hurricane, leave it fully overstrengthed, upgrade it to a Mark 9, and that leaves us with 830 prestige, and it's fully overstrengthed. Now let's load this game. Let's understrengthen this. Okay, well I already understrengthened it. Now let's upgrade it. And then let's put the overstrength back. 830 prestige. Okay, so it is actually doing the proper calculation. Interesting. So we don't have to worry about that. But I did find one way to save money, which is that if the unit has a downgrade, for example this cruiser, if the unit has a downgrade, I can leave it at 15 strength. That's free. Like this one, this A13 is a free downgrade. There's no loss of money. Then you can downgrade it and then upgrade. And it works out better for you. Although obviously you're not going to get much of a discount here because you're offsetting the fact that it's 15 strength. So, just some interesting things about the about how the system works. Okay, all right. Let's go back. So, one thing I wanted to talk about is, so this Hurricane is now like pretty obsolete. But what's interesting about it is, you have 10 air attack and 10 air defense. Now compared to the Spitfire, that is 5 lower on the air defense and 6 lower on the air attack. But I'll just cancel the upgrade and go back to info. You get +4 for level and +1 for every overstrength. So that's +8 +8. So what that means is that a level 4 Hurricane is actually more powerful than a base level Spitfire Mark 9. So it kind of... what that kind of means, or what that kind of screams at me, is that you can keep your units cheap for a really long time if you focus on leveling them. That is a far greater advantage than running top-end equipment. And obviously the largest benefit of that is that cheaper gear is obviously, it's cheaper to repair, provided that you're not, you know, taking additional losses because of the loss of defense. Now, in this case, it is actually probably time to upgrade the Hurricane, because it's defense-wise, I mean, +6, +5 is actually pretty huge. So, I think it is worth specializing, especially since I'm going to put a hero on this unit. But it's just interesting to me that I think, and if you're playing on a lower difficulty, you're going to have more units to play around with. You might be better off running cheaper gear and trying to level it as quickly as possible than upgrading. Okay, so let's upgrade. This is probably the only upgrade I'm going to do. And the only reason why is because instead of buying a fresh plane, I unlocked a fighter hero here. In fact, I actually unlocked a tactical bomber hero as well, but I don't have a tactical bomber. Deal 40 to enemy fighters. I think that's 40 damage. Well, unlocking him will be easy at some point. Okay. So, first strike, obviously. Huge ability. That means that boom and zoom is really not useful anymore. Why pay fuel to get first strike when you can just have first strike? Overrun for a fighter plane is amazing to me. Is that going to mean that I can just hose down aircraft like there's no tomorrow? Incoming anti-aircraft damage becomes non-lethal. That's not usually a big deal for fighters. All aircraft within 5 hex gain 2 ground defense and 2 air defense. And I think that affects self as well. It's really hard to defend other aircraft with a fighter plane. So I'm not sure if the extra defending is going to be that useful either. How much ammo has a plane got? 4. So I think with devastating fire, we might get through our ammo pretty quickly here. Yeah, let's go with nimble. I think that extra defense will actually be very useful for keeping alive. I think generally speaking devastating fire is going to be more useful. I mean, don't forget, you have to land to reload an aircraft, so you know, with only 4 ammo you are going to struggle to stay in the air. Although maybe we should get the skill that lets you turn planes around faster. I might end up getting both. The other skills are not that exciting, but we'll start with devastating fire because I think that's got more utility. Okay, apparently there's an upgrade for the Spitfire Mark 9. Which I have no idea what that would be. Huh. Upgrades from Spitfires are cheaper. Yeah, once again I've got got a couple of tactical bomber heroes here. But I don't really have the best tactical bombers. I could deploy both of these on these bombers. But I'm concerned about how easy it is to bring planes down. I think heroes die if the unit they're attached to dies. Speaking of upgrades, this is like a multi-role plane, which is quite a nice idea actually, because you're only slightly less powerful against ground targets for a pretty significant boost in air-to-air capability. And both of these planes are massively better defended. And then you've got the actual proper tacticals. The thing is, tacticals do real damage, and Bristol's strat bombers do suppressive damage. But in this game, suppressive damage is more or less identical to lethal damage. Unless the enemy can get away and repair, it really doesn't matter whether you suppress or whether you damage. Because as soon as a unit is down to 0 strength, even if it's 10 suppressed, as soon as it's down to 0 strength, it runs away, and then you tap it again and it dies. So it truly doesn't matter. So I have no plans to upgrade these at the moment, but if I upgrade them it will probably be to something like this. But, you know, just remembering that aircraft are just fantastically expensive. So for now, I think holding off on upgrades is the best idea. And the Spitfire was a necessary upgrade because I wanted to deploy a fighter hero, but also the Hurricane was really starting to fall behind. I'm not sure why drop tanks would reduce ammunition on a Hurricane or a Spitfire, considering it's internal to the wing machine guns, which loved to jam and were impossible to unjam while flying. Okay, so what's left is my tanks. I really wanted to upgrade this cruiser, but honestly, I'm not excited by the prospect of spending such a huge amount of money on vehicles that aren't. I mean, they are better, but it doesn't necessarily make my tank, you know, severely better than the baseline. So here, I have a hard defense of 18, for example, and a hard attack of 17. So 18 and 17, keep that in mind. Now, if I was to acquire a fresh tank, it's 17 and 12. So, as you can see, the fact that it's level 5 is way more important than what it is. And it's really quite cheap to repair. So, it almost feels like it's worth running this obsolete gear for, you know, for the foreseeable future. Because the upgrade just isn't enough of an upgrade compared to the baseline. I was also interested in buying one of these artilleries that's got 5 range. So that's pretty exciting. This is a close support artillery. You have the howitzer, which is the superior artillery. But has 4 range, and then you have this thing, which is got 5 range, slightly inferior stats. And then this is what I'm currently using at the moment. You know, but once again, it's a matter of getting it leveled more than anything else. I was also quite interested in buying another one of these things, because they're honestly quite good. So, 830 prestige. We don't know what we're going to need, but let's acquire another scout car. Go with terrain expert and resolute attack for now. What am I using on my standard one? See, the equipment is quite expensive. Enemy entrenchment reduced by 1 before the attack, plus 2 to soft. And then you have obviously this hard, soft, and air. Let's add a mortar. So that was actually a relatively cheap unit to buy. Still cost me a fortune. Yeah, fully upgrading that actually doesn't leave me with enough money to buy one of these artilleries. Although I might still acquire one during the mission. I don't think that this actually upgrades neatly. Nope. What is the difference between these two? That's kind of... What is the difference between this? Oh, okay. There is a stats difference. I did lose an artillery sort of quite early on in the campaign, so it might be worth having a second one. Yeah, I'm sure I can free up a little bit of money to run another artillery. Gotta be careful where I ship it from. Do you know what? We'll deploy the artillery during the actual battle. As soon as I've made a little bit of money. Plus, it would be good to actually keep money in my pocket for unwelcome surprises. Okay. Intensify the airfield. Very expensive upgrade, but worth it. And we'll get the second level of aerial recon as well. Only 3 points for aerial recon. That's going to be really useful. HMS Glorious survived. We still haven't seen it though.
The sooner we open the second front in Europe, the better. What do you think of Operation Sledgehammer?
As I understand it, you are planning to send only a few of your American divisions to land on the European mainland. So the operation would be mainly a British undertaking. The problem is, after 3 years of war, our numbers are also weak. This is a terrible failure in the making.
The USSR keeps on insisting the Allies widen the war effort. We must help the Soviets and take some pressure off of Stalingrad.
A failed landing in Europe would help neither us nor the Soviets. We must lower our sights. Before crossing the channel, let us eliminate the Axis presence in North Africa.
Sir Winston, are you saying you oppose the Allied landings in Europe?
Not
Doesn't
at all.
want you to throw your
But
stuff
we
away.
simply lack the forces to land in Europe this year. Instead, we should engage the enemy in Africa. There we can mass forces in a combination the Axis forces cannot hope to oppose. All the while, we'll keep building up troops and materiel for a proper landing in Europe.
A sound plan. But if that's the case, I insist that General Eisenhower leads all Allied troops in Africa. The United States will only commit major forces to an operation led by an American.
Fuck
Congratulations on your appointment, Supreme Allied Commander.
Thank you, Sir Harold. It is an honor to serve alongside you. Frankly, I would have been more than glad to serve under your command had a British general taken this position.
That is an interesting thought, but we have a major operation before us. General Eisenhower, how do you see the upcoming battle shaping up?
Our plan is to land at 3 locations in North Africa. Our objectives are to take control of Algeria and Morocco, and to neutralize or destroy Vichyist forces.
Did you meet with General Giraud? Will he take command of the Vichy armed forces if they defect to our side?
The starting price was the command of the entire Allied Expeditionary Corps. I had to disappoint him.
I see. He doesn't sound very reasonable, does he?
Eventually he agreed to commanding just the Vichy French, if they surrender.
I doubt the Vichy forces will even follow Giraud, especially if he arrives with the British troops. They could not have forgotten the Royal Navy's attack on their fleet in 1940.
Indeed, which is why we should tread carefully, and encourage the Vichy troops' surrender with minimal bloodshed. To that end, I suggest we make this operation look like a United States affair.
Ah, so your plan to reduce Allied losses is to downplay the role of the British Army.
General Brooke, I'm sure General Eisenhower is quite sincere in his desire to save British lives.
Absolutely. My only goal here is to minimize all Allied casualties.
Of course. I am pleased to see the two of you in agreement. That is the kind of Allied cooperation we will need to win this war. But Alexander, I should caution you, never forget what uniform you wear. Our American cousins certainly will not.
I love it. Oh, I love it. It's so cheesy, but it's well written cheese. Even if some of the English is not quite right.
General Alexander, during Operation Torch, you must retake Morocco and Algeria from the Vichyist troops and establish our control there. Our American allies and the Free French forces will help us. The Joint Command will be headed by General Dwight Eisenhower.
General Alexander, I've been told about your victories. With commanders like you, we'll be concluding this operation in no time.
Thank you, General Eisenhower. And welcome aboard.
Let's cut straight to the chase then. Our time is short. First of all, we must suppress the Vichyist fleet. Most of it is centered around Casablanca, including Jean Bart, the unfinished French battleship. A few more ships are patrolling the coastal waters of Algeria. Importantly, a number of German U-boats have been spotted in the area. Stay on your toes, and don't leave your transports without destroyer escort. Your second objective is to capture the coastal key points. There are 3 of them: Casablanca, Oran, and Algiers. Just in case, let me specify. For the public at large, Operation Torch is an American undertaking. The French still haven't forgiven the Brits for destroying their ships during Operation Catapult in 1940, so it's best if we keep the Union Jack hidden for now. The last thing we need is a diplomatic scandal with a potential ally. For a similar reason, minimize the damage to the infrastructure. If we manage to strike a deal with the Vichy regime and have them join the war effort, it would help if their local assets weren't reduced to rubble. We are planning to use the imprisoned General Henri Girard as leverage to convince the Vichyist forces to lay down their arms. It's a gamble, however. We'll notify you about the outcome so you can correct the operation's course accordingly.
Good old HMS Glorious.
Yes.
Lucky we kept it intact back in Norway. We can use some support from its aircraft.
Glorious.
Talk about king-sized.
It's mostly an American affair. HMS Glorious in the sea next to them. Matildas deploying on the beaches. It's like, come on.
Transport. Standing by.
Capital ship standing by.
Southampton class, mod 4.
Ready for gunboat diplomacy.
I really don't know much about Navy.
Yes, Commander.
Naval battles. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Just not hugely interested in naval combat, so...
Talk about king-sized.
I have an illustrious class somewhere. Oh, it's all the way over here. Okay. So...
Where do we go now?
All hands on deck.
I have this
Transport. Standing by.
massive...
Forward in an orderly fashion. Understood?
Massive navy. What looks like a load of infantry, which is going to be American infantry, I'm sure. Some tanks. Okay. Interesting. There's so many auxiliary forces here. And there's really not much prestige on offer for this mission. Makes you worry about just how much money you could bleed out losing auxiliary units here.
Commando unit awaiting orders.
Okay, I am allowed to deploy here, here, and here. Wow, only 60 damage to the infrastructure. That's gonna be a struggle as well. It strikes me that the correct place to get landed is here. And then once landed, push up this way. I don't know how many turns we've got though.
Infantry awaiting orders.
You know, I would love to be, it would have been nice to be given some deployment zones here, so I could have deployed my paratroopers here and flown them. I mean, still possible for me to land there, but...
Read you loud and clear.
My primary concern here is, you know, the amount of turns available. If we've got loads of time, then just balling my units is going to be the right move.
This battle will be decided by cold steel.
Steel her in.
Our timing is always impeccable.
Tank squadron reporting. Tanks awaiting orders.
I could actually deploy like a load of regular infantry if I wanted to, and gum up the works with that. Let's get an anti-aircraft gun over here.
Guns of the United Kingdom.
Ready to unload.
Pick up that plane. Let's put it over here. Okay, alright. So my plan of action is to just take this group and this group and just literally just smash in here. There doesn't appear to be any key... Well, this is a key objective. Here, here, and here. Yeah, it's... Two of the key objectives are actually over here. Like, right over here. So that's another concern. Could have been given a massive air force. I don't know, we're just going to have to see how it unfolds. You know, once again, you just don't have enough information. Really. "13 turns. That's not a lot of turns. So that's information I could have used.
Board in an orderly fashion. Understood?
You know, that's so annoying. With only 13 turns, then it makes more sense to deploy everywhere and try and push in, you know, rather than balling. Oh well. Oh well, there's literally nothing I can do about that. Let's just hope. You know, it's going to be one of these ones where it's like you'll find out that there's no enemies here and that you can just land there, or you know that there's like no enemies, say here, and you can just land here or something. You know, it's going to be. We're going to find out what the right moves are after everything is kicked off. This is going to be a hard objective as well. Unless self-repairing of the buildings actually undoes the damage. If it just counts all damage forever, then that's going to be a really hard one. But anyway, that's it for now. That's it for deployment. We're just going to have to go for it and just see how it all pans out. Right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.